All right, welcome into Market Day Report. I am Scott Shelley, otherwise known as the Cow Guy. Good morning, good Friday morning to you. Got that Friday feeling. Coffee all around, donuts everywhere. Why don't we see what these markets did overnight? We'll just kind of take a quick peek on what the action's been. If we move over to corn, if I do the old technology and point it to corn, that would be a good idea and a great start. Overnight, we're a little bit better here on the board. We got SEP up 6 cents. We don't look at SEP that much. 680.5 is last. It's trying to make a new high there. D's, so the new crop, getting back up to that 675 level. And at this time of year, it's pretty good going. And we're up 4.5 cents. 673 was last overnight in that. So we're getting ready to open it up here pretty quickly. And 675 was the high. So that's pretty good going. About, 3.5, 3.75 to 6 cents higher in SEP across the board there. How about the beanies? We had a lot of green on the screen earlier during the radio show. November's up 16 cents. A new crop. That's 14.02, above that $14 handle. So we've retaken the gains there. We've got that number back. 14.02 is last. The high of 14.03. So we're getting close up there as we traded overnight. The low was only about 15 cents ago. So, and we're up about 14.5 to 16.5 cents across the board there in the beanies. So two of them, 2 for 2, green on the screen. Chicago wheat, the wheat in Chicago. What do we have happening there? D's is up 12 cents, stayed 41 even, right? So that was a decent overnight move. We finished, before we open up here this morning, we finished real close to the highs of the day. So again, 11.75 to 12 cents, basically 12 cents across the board higher in that wheat market in Chicago. Hard red wheat in Kansas City. How about this one? We're up basically 13.5 cents across the board. D's up 13.5, 906.5, a penny off the highs as we go into the official open during the day here at half past. And then we've, again, 13.25, 13.5 across the board there. So some pretty good going on the hard red wheat, too. Let's see what spring wheat was doing overnight. 11 cents higher there in that D's contract to 909.25. And what did we see? We were a small gain, I think, the last time I checked in cotton. Yep, 68 points, 104.52 in that contract. Let's bring in our next guest analyst, the first one of the day, kicking things off. Brian Hoops from Midwest Market Solutions. Thanks for joining the show. Haven't seen you in a long time. You've got great content. Why don't you lay it on us again?
Good morning, Scott. It's always good to talk with you. We're higher overnight in the grains. We're seeing some short covering. I think mostly it's tied to Monday's report. There's not a tremendous amount of news for the markets to go off of. We're hearing some very early stages of corn and soybean harvest, but that should pick up into next week as the temperatures kind of warm up and things remain dry. The crop dries down just a little bit more. Producers don't seem to be in a big hurry to get out there and get a lot of the crop harvested. So, we had a private sale of soybeans this morning, but it was to Taiwan, not to China. So there's not a lot to get excited, I think, about that. But, trade is looking to see a reduction in yields for both corn and soybeans in Monday's report. More so corn than soybeans, and that's going to give us a little bit of a short covering in here. Beans fell yesterday to a real strong technical support area and have bounced off of it almost 30 cents, including the overnight trade. So, maybe there's another 5-10 cents higher here in a bounce, but I think you're going to see, markets trend higher into the weekend, but more of a choppy type trade as the day goes on.
All right, yeah, it seems like we were a little bit negative going into this to today and then the weekend, but you're right. Things have bounced back. Like I said earlier, a little bit of green on the screen, but there's one of these stats that's hanging around. But when it comes to the production in corn, I think the numbers were 6 out of the 6 last September reports. Production was higher for corn, 9 out of the last 10, and then 20 out of the last 24. Now, I know, I'm sure you're a scientist and you know what mutually exclusive means. I know that they're supposed to be mutually exclusive, but it's hard to argue with that kind of a trend, isn't it?
It is. It's a historical pattern, and USDA has moved from just satellite surveys in their August report to more of their own test plot surveys in this report. So there is a pattern, I think, here, and that is something that's closely watched by the trade. Plus, you have the USDA or NASA actually making a statement that they're going to resurvey these acres, and these numbers are going to come out in this report, not in the October report. So it has the trade thinking we could see a little bit less corn acres, 200,000 to 400,000 less, and maybe a very similar amount of soybeans being added because of recertification of these acres.
And I know a lot of folks have had their confidence shaken in the USDA as of late because they can't even get us these export sales. So,
That's right.
I mean, hey, if they can't get us export sales, what's Monday supposed to look like? All right, stay right there. We're going to go away. We're going to pay some bills. We're going to come back and talk more with Brian Hoops from Midwest Market Solutions after this. All right, welcome back to Market Day Report. Not going to say my name again because some people get angry about that, but you know who I am just by the wearing the jacket. How's that? And then this guy in this jacket likes to look at live cattle prices, but these are going to be yesterday's closes, so don't catch me out here. I don't normally sit in the chair on a morning. But anyway, how about this? October yesterday, live cattle was up 12 cents. Very quiet day, I can tell you that. I remember this. 144.37 is where we went out, and that was close to the highs of the day, but still it doesn't matter. It was a very, very quiet session. We did see Dees behind it. Closed down 42 cents to 149.65. We'll see how we open up here this morning. We'll ask our analyst here in a second what he thinks is going to go on. The feeder cattle, they were slightly better, steady better. If you would have called me on the floor, that's what I would have said. October's up 45 cents to close yesterday at 184.40. You know what? The big, well, I'll ask our analyst what he says. All right, let's go to lean hogs real quick. Oct was up $1.05 there, 92.12, but we were lower across the board after that. Out the deferreds, 92 cents, lowering that D's to 82.67 on lean hogs. Let's bring back in Brian Hoops. Brian, thanks for sticking around. Any ideas about where you feel like these things are going to open up?
The best call, I think, is just a fully steady call in both live cattle and feeder cattle at this point. You may be a touch lower in the feeders because corn is a little bit higher. But, the cash trade that's developed so far this week has been steady. We came into the week thinking that the Packers needed to buy cattle for next week's full kill schedule, but then we had bigger show list numbers, and so they counteracted each other, and we just saw steady type cash trade. The cutouts are starting to trend a little bit softer, so I think, again, next week you're looking at another steady cash market. It leaves the futures trading choppy, two-sided, and really kind of a directionless trade, but you did see the stock market to trade higher overnight. If that continues to firm up, maybe that gives a little bit of a boost to the cattle market going into the week.
Interesting that you say that because we've already talked about the fact that we've got a USDA report on Monday, but we're going to get some inflation figures next week too. That could start to throw a wrench in the works, or make some decent moves with the stock market. Then that would come through to some of these things here. And however, while the prices are doing as far as the economy goes, also could affect the products we talk about, especially meat. So it'll be interesting to get those numbers next week, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a reason why producers, I think, need to keep a stance, a long-term stance of hedging in this cattle market. Puts, call windows or fences, I think is still a really good strategy. That hasn't changed since the spring because the stock market, the economy hasn't really changed. We haven't really improved things enough to say that we're off and running.
Right.
An increase in interest rates, I think, would be detrimental. We're hearing from a lot of clients around the country that they're getting notices of heating bill increases already through the winter.
Yes.
Natural gas prices going
up. That's going to keep happening too. So, all right,
yes,
great stuff. Good to see you again. Have a great week. Hope August ended as
Thank
well.
you.
Brian Hoops, Midwest Market Solutions. We're going to bring him back to Nashville so I can throw this. Good morning, Janet. I'll throw this to you now. How are you?